Here's a different story for you. 27-year-old Amanda Liberty suffers from a rare condition called Objectum sexuality, where she falls in love with objects instead of people.
When Amanda was 13, she formed a relationship with her drum kit, and after 10 years, the relationship, like most other failed relationships, fizzled out.
Amanda has now formed a long-distance relationship with the Statue of Liberty, who she calls her girlfriend. And she joins us now, along with clinical psychologist Dr. Funke Barfor. And welcome both. The trouble with this one is that it is a long-term relationship. Well, I'll come to that in just a second. Let's go back to that drum kit, because you were given that as a Christmas present when you were about 13. Got adoptive parents, haven't you?
Yeah.
And so what was it about the drum kit that made it more than something that, as a kid, you'd just enjoy and think, oh, this is great fun, that made it much more serious?
Well, I'm attracted to different shapes, geometrical shapes, and the drum kit, you know, you've got the round tops and the sides, you've got the little lugs. It's just the way that they look to me.
Well, things are definitely designed to look attractive. I mean, there's technology that's ergonomically nice, to, you know, things feel lovely in your hands. That's one thing to feel like that, think, oh, this feels nice, I like this new phone, or I like... But actually to fall in love with something like a drum kit, how do you take that the next step? You know, where if you fall in love with something, did you take it to bed?
Yes.
Did you?
Yes.
How did that work?
I didn't take the whole lot to bed. I took one of them to bed. But you know what I mean. I just like to cuddle them, and that just like a teddy bear.
So did you sort of humanise it in a way? I mean, was the drum kit a he or a she, or did it have a name? So it was just...
No, it was an it.
It was just an it.
Yeah, a drum and an it. I didn't actually give it a name or anything.
So were you surprised by it when you suddenly looked at this drum kit and thought, oh, when you have that sort of... I mean, I can only imagine it's the same feeling as when I would meet a man and think, oh, he's rather attractive, and it's that same feeling. Were you surprised you were having that feeling about an object?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And did you try and suppress it at first?
No, I never did, because I thought, well, it's natural for me. Maybe I'm just meant to be this way, even though I didn't know anybody else. For years I went without knowing a soul, anybody else who loved objects, and I just felt like I was on my own. But
what did the drum kit do to make you fall out of love with it? I mean, how did that relationship falter?
It didn't actually do anything. It's just that Lady Liberty barged in, sort of thing.
So you were unfaithful to the drum kit?
Basically.
So you saw the picture of Liberty. I mean, you must have seen the Statue of Liberty a number of times. Was there one specific image which made you think, Liberty, you've stolen my heart?
It wasn't one particular image, but I just love the way that she looks, and I love what she stands for. I love her history. I love everything about her.
Which I can understand that. This is something that symbolises something that you feel very positive about. That's great. But and a lot of people, I've been to see it. I've stood right at the very top there, in underneath that crown. But I didn't love her. I didn't fall in love with her. And you've actually said that you would marry her, but you feel it's a little bit selfish for other people who feel the same way that you do. What is the love affair?
Well, I love her. I don't think I've got the right to marry her, because she doesn't belong to me. She's not mine, and I don't want to do anything that nobody else would do. You know, what I would love to do is just sit at the bottom, on the sides near the railings at the edge of the island, and just watch the sunset with her, hear the sounds. It's very important for me to hear the sounds of the waves, to smell the city. I can smell the city from there. I love the sounds of the boats going past. You know, it's things like this that I tune into a lot more.
Well, the trouble is that with Liberty is that it is such an enormous monument that you can't put your arm round it and watch the sun go down like you could with a drum kit. But you can only get so close because it's so gigantic. You can't bring it home with you.
That's right.
So I mean, you've got sort of little versions of Liberty, who you call Libby, don't you? So you've got little versions of Libby. You've even made this. This is your, which you've put little lights in, and you've made that. And I mean, does that suffice? I mean, is that enough? Or, I mean, is that the same as having the real thing?
Well, obviously it's not the same as having the real thing. It's not the same as being able to travel to New York and see her for real. But, you know, I know I can deal with what I can get when I'm at Liberty Island with her. You know, I can be satisfied to look at her. I can be satisfied to go and visit her crown like everybody else, you know. And I do like to put my hand out and touch the hair. But then, you know, I'm happy to come home back to England again. And I've got my own statues at home that I can connect with. And I can make a connection with her through them.
Is there a sexual attraction?
I'd say there is an intimate attraction to her, but that is only a very small part. A lot of the part is how she makes me feel and what she's done for me. She reciprocates to me. She doesn't put her arms around me, but she makes me feel really good inside, and she's propelled me on with my life.
How has that affected your relationships with people, with men, boyfriends?
Well,
they haven't liked it, but that's understandable, you know.
Because you did have a 2-year relationship with a man, didn't you?
Yeah.
And he found it very tricky. I guess it's like being in it's almost a bit of a threesome going on, because it must have been very confusing for him if you're spending more time with Libby than with him.
Yeah, but you know, at the end of the day, I followed my heart. My heart tells me to go with Lady Liberty, you know, and I think that's more important than anything else, really.
Funke, this is not the first time this has happened, and as we say, this is Objectum Sexuality, so it is a medical term. As some other examples, we've got Asia Berliner Mauer. She's in Sweden, and she is the first person that we think that actually came out and discussed this, and she went public in 1998. She fell in love with the Swedish Red Fence. That's right. And she's now married to the Berlin Wall. Amy Wolf fell in love with an amusement ride in Pennsylvania. She sleeps with a picture of that on her ceiling. That's right. So to tell me about this? And
well, one thing we need to be clear on, that it's not really a medical condition, it's an orientation. And there are many people that find it quite upsetting when we say it's a condition. And what it is that people form this strong emotional connection with objects.
As long as they're happy, they're not hurting anyone. Absolutely. So I guess you kind of got to go, right, there's, as we've said, there's many different colours on the sexual spectrum, or whatever spectrum it may be. Absolutely,
Holly. And I think we as psychologists, we're still trying to understand.
Yes.
And, you know, looking at the case of Amanda, how she's formed this relationship, you'll think, well, what happened in her childhood? And, you know, lots of things happen in our childhood. But one thing that does come out with objective sexuality is the link with Asperger's. Not everyone has Asperger's, but there are a number of people who have come out with it that have Asperger's. And we might say, why do Asperger's individuals have objective sexuality? One of the things about Asperger's is that they don't form social relationships. Right. You know, that's well, we call it an impairment, but it's a difficulty that they have. So forming a relationship with an object, it might symbolise something that they can trust.
I see. So it's reliable.
Absolutely.
But Amanda, you are completely happy. I mean, this is your life, and you're totally happy with the way it is.
Yes, I am. I couldn't be happier. I mean, I've lived with her since last year, since June. We've got our own flat together. I mean, on an official scale, live on my own, but unofficially, I live with her.
Yeah.
You know, and since June, I've lost over 4 stone in weight because I've been so happy with her.
So you can't argue with that, can you?
No, you can't. I mean, she's happy. She's not worried about it. I mean, she did speak to me earlier on and say, well, I wonder why I've formed this relationship. And we all form things with different, you know, maybe individuals.
Why do I stay in a bad relationship?
Absolutely.
I mean, everybody has those questions.
There's a history and a meaning to everything.
But other people with other people that you've met and you've discussed this with, you say that there could be reliability issues at some time in their past. Human beings have let them down, and so therefore you are not going to be let down by something like this.
Absolutely. And there's a link also, the sense of not being rejected.
Yeah.
And they might have experienced rejection, i.e. if they had been adopted or in foster care. So there's so many angles to look at, and we just can't judge on Amanda's case because there are lots of cases of objective sexuality.
Yes. And for you, this is a long-term relationship, and this is something that there isn't. It's not like the the drum kit and something came along and stole your heart away, for you, it's not going to be
Hopefully,
Big Ben.
No, hopefully it'll never change, you know, but you never know what life is going to throw at you at the end of the day. But
And if a person was to come in and steal your heart, do you think you'd be able to put liberty to one side?
I wouldn't want to.
Well, there we are. Very happy.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Lovely
you.
to meet you. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Well, if you want more details on Objectum Sexuality, there are details of helplines on our website, itv.com/.